My name is Renata Cole, and I'm 34 years old. One Sunday this past June, at family dinner, my mother stood up, tapped her water glass, and announced that my brother and his 2 kids were moving into my house. My house. Not one person at that table thought to ask me. I said nothing. I passed the green beans. But 2 days before that dinner, I had sat in a title office across town and signed my name until my hand cramped. The house was already sold. My family had no idea. The moving truck they'd rented, the boxes they'd packed, the keys my mother copied without asking. All of it was headed for a front door that no longer belonged to me. And the truck was only the beginning. Welcome back to Revenge and Regrets, where quiet people finally get loud in their own way. If you've ever been the one who keeps the peace while everyone else keeps taking, this one's for you. Drop a comment and subscribe before we start. The house was a 1952 bungalow, and before it became a battleground, it was just mine. I bought it in 2019 for $68,000. Every cent of the down payment earned during tax seasons while my roommates went on spring break. I'm a CPA. I do other people's math for a living, and I know exactly what things cost. That house cost me 7 years of Saturdays. I refinished the oak floors on my knees, planted a row of peonies my grandmother used to grow, fixed a cracked porch step off a YouTube video. Nobody helped me move in, and in 7 years my family never once ate a meal under my roof. Sunday dinner happened at my parents' place every single week. My mother, Marlene, had been inside my house exactly 4 times in 7 years, and still felt entitled to hand out my rooms like dinner rolls. In May, I had a secret. In April, my firm asked me to lead a new office they were opening 50 minutes north, my name on the door, a salary bump earned through 11 tax seasons. I said yes before the managing partner finished his sentence. My friend Meg, a realtor, knew a young couple tired of losing bidding wars. Off-market, 1 walkthrough, 1 clean offer of $265,000. We closed on a Friday in a title office with bad coffee. The buyers, Marin and Dale Whitfield, didn't need the house until midsummer, so we signed a 30-day rent-back agreement. I paid them rent to keep living in my own house for 1 more month. I'd already put a deposit on a little cottage near the new office, close enough to hear geese argue in the morning. I rehearsed telling my family at Sunday dinner. I never got the chance. My job in this family had never been daughter. It was staff. I'd done my parents' taxes since I was 19. When their roof failed, the check came from my savings, and my mother said, "You're a blessing," and never mentioned it again. My brother Dean is 38, laid off from a warehouse 8 months ago, back in my parents' spare room since March. His kids, Josie 8 and Milo 5, stayed with their mother, Monica, during the week. In my family, there were 2 kinds of children, the ones who needed and the one who handled it. 5 years ago, I'd given my mother a spare key for emergencies, back when I believed we meant the same thing by that word. I built my exit quietly, with a realtor and a title company, instead of announcing it and giving anyone a season to talk me out of it. That first Sunday of June looked like any other. Pot roast, the good tablecloth. Josie drew horses on a napkin beside me. Then my mother stood, tapped her water glass, and said, "We've decided that Dean and the children will move into Renata's house on July 11th. She'd assigned the rooms. Josie in the front bedroom, Milo in the small room, Dean in the master. Since Renata hardly needs all that closet. She had walked through my house 4 times in 7 years and mapped it room by room onto her son. "Empty rooms," she said, warm as a quilt. "Family fills empty rooms." Dean finally looked up and gave me the grin that's gotten him out of consequences since 1994. It'd really help. "Sis." I opened my mouth, and 34 years of training closed it for me. I passed the green beans. Why didn't I say it right there? 3 reasons. First, reflex. My throat had learned rules my brain never agreed to. Second, strategy. You don't announce a fire drill to people already holding matches. If I said sold at that table, there would be family meetings, casseroles, coached and blinking questions from Josie about why Aunt Renata didn't want them. Third, and this one shames me a little, I still believed in a soft landing. I gave myself 1 week to tell my parents privately, kindly. My mother gave me 3 days. Wednesday evening, my phone rang mid-sentence. "July 11th is confirmed. Aunt Sheila's renting the box truck. Dean thinks the sectional won't fit down your hallway, so you'll want to move your reading chair to the basement. I stood in my own kitchen, listening to my own furniture being redistricted. Mom, we need to talk about the house. She rolled right over me. Oh, honey, don't worry about cleaning. Pastor's wife already heard the news and thinks it's just beautiful what you're doing for your brother. She'd already told the church. Anything I said now wouldn't be information. It would be betrayal. Saturday, I came home to find Dean sitting on my porch swing like a man waiting on a reserved table. Relax, I just peeked in the windows, he said, then walked me around my own yard pointing at rooms, thinking out loud about a weight bench in the garage, maybe a trampoline where the peonies were. Down the road. My brother had a road now, and it ran through my deed. He wasn't gloating. There was no smirk in it. He talked about my house the way you talk about weather that's been promised to improve. Tessa, Monica, asked me to coffee the last week of June and got straight to it. The kids keep talking about the big move. Is this house thing actually happening? And sitting in that coffee shop, I told the truth ahead of schedule for the first time in 34 years. No, it's not happening. The house is sold. I closed weeks ago. I moved north on the 2nd. She leaned back, looked at the ceiling, and laughed once. Tired. Good. Good for you. Then quieter. Why do you think I left Renata? It was never him I divorced. It was the whole weather system. She promised to keep it quiet, and I believed her. At my nephew's 5th birthday party, my mother tapped her glass again and produced a set of freshly cut brass keys tied with a red ribbon. So July 11th, you just drive right up and walk right into your new home. The room applauded. Josie, standing beside me at the cake table, asked, Are those the keys to your house, Aunt Renata? I looked down at that little face, then out at the room. My mother flushed with generosity, handing out copies of my front door as party favors, using the key I'd given her 5 years ago for emergencies. In her dictionary, an emergency is when the family needs what you have. They're Grandma's copies, sweetheart, I told Josie, which was, in every way, the truth. The last week of June, I came home to find the back door unlocked, kitchen chairs dragged out of place, a tape measure on the windowsill that wasn't mine, 2 sets of shoe prints on my just-mopped floor. My phone buzzed. Dean. We measured the kids' rooms real quick, LOL. He'd used the party keys to walk 2 strangers' worth of footprints through my home to plan his furniture. That night, the things that mattered went into my car. My grandmother's quilt, my files, Josie's drawing of my house pinned safely in a book. I called Meg, and the next evening I met the Whitfields at the coffee place by the title office and put it to them straight. My relatives believed my brother was moving into their house on July 11th, with a rented truck and copied keys. Neither of them panicked. Dale said his dad had taught him you always rekey a house before you sleep in it. Locksmith already scheduled for possession day. Marin stirred her coffee and said, It's our home now. We'll be kind, and we'll be clear. I spent my last night at Maple Street mopping the floors I'd refinished on my knees. One more time, not because the Whitfields required it, but because you should hand things over better than you got them. I dug up 1 fat clump of peonies for the cottage, patted the hole closed like an apology to the one staying behind, and left my keys on the counter for the new owners. You can love a thing and still refuse to let it be taken. Sometimes leaving is how you keep it. The night before moving day, I sat on my new porch with a text drafted to my mother, clear, kind, complete. The house is sold. Please don't bring the truck. My thumb hovered a long time. I ran the projection, because projections are my job. If I sent it, the truck would be canceled, and by Sunday there'd be a new campaign. Family meetings about what I owed Dean from my windfall. If I didn't send it, tomorrow would be ugly and unforgettable, and the one thing my family could never again believe was that things just work out because Renata handles it. I deleted the draft, letter by letter, and turned off my porch light. For 34 years I had been the airbag. That night, for the first time, I let the car hit the wall. At 8:40 the next morning, my phone rang. Josie's small voice wobbling. Aunt Renata, why is there a strange lady in your house? I told her to put her daddy on, then drove south with my heart going like a woodpecker. Here's what I stitched together from Monica, from Marin, and from what I saw myself. Aunt Sheila's rented box truck sat angled across the driveway, gate rolled up, a sectional halfway down the ramp. My mother stood at the front door knocking with the flat of her hand, calling my name into a house that did not contain me. Dean jabbed his shiny brass key at a new deadbolt over and over, a man trying to log into a life with the wrong password. And in the doorway, calm as a school nurse, stood Marin Whitfield, saying the sentence she'd been saving for 8 days. "I'm so sorry, but this is our home. We closed a month ago." My mother laughed at her, the polite, appalled laugh she uses on waitresses who bring the wrong order. "Honey, no. This is my daughter's house." That's the exact moment my tires crunched the curb. Crossing that lawn took maybe 10 steps in 34 years. My mother met me halfway, arms wide. "Renata, tell this woman there's been some mistake at the bank." Neighbors had drifted onto porches with coffee mugs. I kept my voice low and level. "There's no mistake, Mom. I sold the house. It closed a month ago. It was never the family's to fill." For 1 second, the yard was so quiet I could hear the truck's ramp ticking in the heat. My mother's face searched, flipped through every page in her book for the chapter where this happens, and found nothing. Then she landed on the only sentence she had left, loud, for the porches, her voice cracking down the middle. "We fill empty rooms, Renata." "That is what family does." Dale appeared beside his wife. "Please move the truck off our driveway. We'll help carry anything back up the ramp." Nobody moved. My father, who'd said nothing all morning, stepped close as I turned back toward my car and spoke almost too quietly to hear. "Your grandmother had a piano," he said. That was all. It stopped me cold. The retreat was not graceful. Boxes went back up the ramp in silence, carried mostly by Dale, who made 2 trips. My mother did not help. She stood by the peonies, now Marin's peonies, arranging her face for the neighbors, then got in Aunt Sheila's cab without looking at me. Dean left the ribboned keys on the porch rail. "I stayed behind to apologize to the Whitfields on behalf of my bloodline." Marin shook her head. "You warned us. You did it right. This was the easy part." That night, 1 voicemail mattered. My mother. No emojis this time. "Family meeting Tuesday? 6 p.m. You owe your brother that much. Sunday and Monday." The family court convened without me, in a group chat I watched like weather radar. Aunt Sheila, mortified. The church saw everything. A cousin, so the kids are just homeless now. Nice. My mother posted once. "Some people get rich selling their family out the back door." In 2 days of righteous fury, not one person asked where I was going to live, or whether I was okay. "Monday night," Monica called. "Don't you dare fold." The kids were never homeless. They live with me, Renata. Moving into your place was about Dean getting the school district and your mother getting her grandkids 7 minutes away. It was strategy, not shelter. I sat with that, feeling something unclench. Monday night I opened 2 education accounts, printed the paperwork and put it in a folder. Accountants don't bring arguments to a fight. We bring documents with signature lines. Tuesday. I got to my parents early and found my father in the garage. I asked about the piano. He told me the missing chapter of my own mother, 1989, her mother's estate, her brother getting the house for the family name, the piano going with it since it stayed with the house. She was 26. She signed. She never played again, and somewhere along the line decided that swallowing it was the same thing as loving them. Her whole life since had been proving that trade was worth it. My mother wasn't punishing me for having something. She was punishing me for refusing to sign it away, because if I could say no, and the sky held, then the girl at that table in 1989 could have said no too. And hadn't. My mother's kitchen table has hosted every verdict of my life, and Tuesday it was set for one more. 2 documents lay squared to the wood grain. A legal pad, with a column of figures underlined twice at the bottom, $60,000, and Josie's school transfer packet with my dead address on it, facing my chair. "You got lucky on that house," my mother said, warm as ever, as if Saturday had happened to some other family. $60,000 puts your brother in a rental with room for the kids. No hard feelings about the little stunt. I asked the only question I'd come to ask, gently, looking at my brother, then my mother. "The kids live with Monica. They always have, don't they?" My mother's voice dropped into its softest register. "Where those children sleep is a family matter. And you stopped being owed family explanations when you sold your family out from under us. But I'll make this simple. Sign your brother that check and Saturday never happened. You'll be at this table for Sunday dinner and Thanksgiving and Christmas morning when those babies open their presents. Or don't. And you can explain to yourself why you chose money over ever seeing them again. Grandma decides who comes to Grandma's. I reached into my bag for my own paper instead. No, Mom, I'm not signing yours. The house was never empty. It was full of me. 7 years of my Saturdays, my floors, my flowers, my mortgage that nobody in this family ever helped carry. And you gave it away over pot roast without asking me a single question. And the kids were never homeless. Mom, they have a home and a mother in it. What this table is about is that something I built got out from under your hands before you could distribute it. And no one in this house can stand it. I opened my folder and laid 3 pages on the table, squared the same way she'd laid hers. These are education savings accounts. One for Josie, one for Milo. $200 a month into each, until they're 18. That money goes to the children, not to a landlord, not through this table. It cannot be borrowed against or redistributed, because it sits in my name, and I've spent my whole life learning exactly why that matters. My door is open to your kids every weekend, Dean. That's what I give. It just doesn't come through her anymore. My mother's voice cracked straight down the middle. No church in it at all. I gave up everything for this family. Everything. And I never once complained. For one long second, I saw her at 26, and my heart broke for that girl fully and honestly. If she'd stopped there, I think I would have walked around that table and held her. She didn't stop. She looked at my 3 neat pages and swept them off the table with both palms. That's not family. That's paperwork. There it was, the whole religion in one sentence. It only counts as love if it passes through her hands. She stood to her full height. Then you are not my daughter. Not at this table. Not at Christmas. Get out of my house. I bent down, picked up my 3 pages off the linoleum, and set them back in the center of the table, in the space where her legal pad had been. The accounts are open either way. The money moves on the 1st of every month. This isn't a negotiation, Mom. It's just true whether or not I'm at the table. Then I said the last thing I ever said in that house. Level as a spirit level. I was never an empty room, Mom. None of your children were. You just never asked what was inside. I walked out past the school photos on the fridge. Through the door I'd walked through since before I could walk. My father followed me onto the back steps, gripped my shoulder and got out his own confession. 89. I stood in the yard that day too. I should have said something. Twice now. I covered his hand with mine for a second. As I reached my car, my phone buzzed. Monica. Whatever just happened over there, the kids have been asking about the lake all week. I sat in my parents' driveway and cried for about a minute and a half. Not the sad kind. The kind you do when you set down a suitcase full of rocks you'd forgotten you were carrying, and your arms float. Then I typed back, Saturday. Here's the honest accounting of the months after, because I refused to end this with a fantasy. My mother kept her word. My chair stayed empty through the summer and fall. She tells the church I abandoned the family. Aunt Sheila invoiced me for the moving truck, $180, and I paid it the same day, memo line. For the truck, not the guilt. She cashed it. The group chat closed over me the way a river closes over a pulled stone. It still aches on holidays. But the 1st of every month, 2 transfers go out on schedule. In September, a thank you card arrived in Josie's careful handwriting with a horse on it. Dean found a 2-bedroom apartment close to the kids' actual school, and a job with weekend shifts off, arranged by himself for the first time in years. Turns out consequences, like water, find their level once nobody's damming them uphill. My father calls me every Thursday from the garage, mower running for cover. 10 minutes about nothing, which from him is a sonnet. Me. I run an office now with my name by the door. In October, a truck came up my gravel drive, and this time I was expecting it. Josie and Milo spilled out before Dean had the brake set. My brother came up the porch steps slowly, holding the ribboned brass keys. "These don't open anything," he said. "Figured you should be the one to throw them away." For a man like him, it was the Gettysburg Address. I dropped the keys in my toolbox and kept the ribbon. I couldn't tell you why, except that some receipts you keep. Inside on my refrigerator, there's a drawing under a magnet, a house with a triangle roof, a row of pink blobs, 2 stick kids, 1 tall stick lady. Josie edited it herself this fall. Aunt Renata's lake house. The flowers, she informed me, could stay in the picture. Since I'd brought them with me, I used to believe love meant filling every room my family pointed at. Now I know a room is only worth filling when you were asked and free to answer. None of us were ever empty rooms. That's my story. 1 dinner where nobody asked, 1 set of keys that opened nothing, and 1 word, no, that finally opened everything. If someone in your life treats your future like the family's spare room, remember you're allowed to hold your own keys. Share this with someone who needs that reminder today.